Several days ago, I decided I wanted to make a painting in the fantasy and sword and sorcery genre. I've never successfully made one before, and I've always wanted to. Back in the 1990s, I took some photos of a model to use for drawing and painting reference. So I pulled those out and did a few sketches, and then I started a pencil drawing on a plywood panel. I'll have my heroine here in the forest hiding from a dragon, or maybe she's waiting for the dragon. I did the preliminary drawing, but then it got cold outside, and my studio space, which is just a little room in my outbuilding, doesn't have heat right now. So until I could make other arrangements, I just set the drawing aside and worked in the house on my computer doing digital painting for a few days. I made my beard video. I painted this fire scene, which I'm happy with. I thought that it would make a great background for something. And then I made this bird, and then I decided that the fire painting would actually be a great background for the bird, so I combined them. Then I thought I would just go ahead and get my pencil drawing for my fantasy painting back out and just do the painting part digitally. I brought it into Clip Studio Paint and got started. So I grew up in the 1970s and 80s. Back then, the illustrations of Frank Frazetta and Boris Vallejo were everywhere. Book covers, album covers, movie posters. I remember when I was younger, I would buy particular books just because they had a Frazetta or a Boris painting on the cover. They inspired a whole generation of new artists, including me. Now, despite their art being a big motivator for me to go to art school myself, I never really made the kind of art that they made. I did a few drawings in that vein and made a couple of attempts at fantasy oil paintings many years ago, but the art school I attended was focused on fine art, and that sort of art and illustration was discouraged, so my art wound up taking a different path. And things worked out, I suppose, but it wasn't the path I originally wanted. Also, over the years, I've mostly shied away from drawing and painting people because I was never very good at it, and, that's no way to be. Looking back now, after all these years, I regret that too. I should have spent more time drawing and painting people to improve my skills. It's something that I'm working on right now, but I've got a long way to go. Around 10 years ago, I bought this used laptop that had Manga Studio already installed on it, and Manga Studio is now Clip Studio Paint. I really liked the program back then, and I'd also received a small used drawing pad with the laptop, but it didn't work right. The pen pressure part didn't always function. I could draw on it, but I didn't get to experience its full potential. Even with that, I thought the program was awesome as a drawing tool. The pencil and ink part looked great. I did find that the painting part was kind of frustrating, and it wasn't just because of the pen pressure issues, but because I didn't really like the paint brushes that came with it. Now, this was my first experience using a drawing tablet. I've had jobs using Photoshop for years, but I've always used a mouse when I did my work, and I just kept doing that until about 3 years ago. I updated my computer and my tablet, and I bought Clip Studio. So really, I'm pretty new to this digital painting and drawing thing. Overall, I'm really impressed with it, but it's taken some getting used to. Clip Studio, Sketchbook Pro, Photoshop are the only programs of this sort that I've ever tried, and I like Clip Studio the best for this, but there might be better programs out there. All my experience drawing and painting has been with pencils, pens, and actual paint, and shifting to digital media was a whole new skill I had to learn. I remember back in the mid-90s when I was in college, I first started seeing this new media emerge, and there was a lot of resistance to it, even for me. There was this thought back then among art purists that drawing on a computer was somehow cheating or you weren't really making art. And even now, I know people who still think that way. But no, you still have to know how to draw and paint. And in a lot of ways, it does make it easier. But in other ways, especially if you're used to making art the other way, it can be pretty awkward, especially at first. But my traditional art experience has been really helpful in learning the digital part. And I often wonder how different it might be for younger people whose experiences mostly or wholly digital media, because I pull a lot from my traditional media experience. Now, until recently, I've had some frustration with the painting aspect because for the longest time, I wasn't happy with how digital paint moved and looked. The brushes were never quite right, and I couldn't use them the same way I could use real paint brushes and paint. And there's still ways to go in this regard, but over time, I finally collected a group of brushes that look and handle pretty close to the real thing. It's taken me months of going through Clip Studio's downloadable resources. I've downloaded and tried scores of brushes, most of which I immediately deleted after I tested them. But here and there, brush packs would contain a brush that I liked. I'd keep it and delete the rest. And over time, I pulled together a pretty good group of brushes, and particularly the past couple of months, I've really started enjoying digital painting for the first time. And I plan to do more of it. Probably I'll be merging my traditional art and my digital art like I am with this painting. So I'm not happy with the painting of the woman, and I'll keep practicing drawing and painting people, and eventually I'll get better at it. I think I prefer the painting without her in it. One great thing about working digitally is if you keep everything on separate layers, you can remove or add or move elements around. I like that. Well, thank you for watching.